Here we have an armature that will control a safe. So I guess the secret code is something like 69, and then the handle will also unlock. And then the door opens. It's pretty simple. It's easy to learn. So what I'm going to do is go and revert. This is the original file that I was given in the original armature. So first thing I'm going to do is go into the objects and go to this here, object data properties. And I'm going to delete all of these vertex groups because we don't need them anymore. And we're going to delete this armature because we're going to just make a new one. Fortunately, the 3D cursor is already in the perfect spot, so I'm just going to do Shift A, armature, single bone. Then I'm going to go into edit mode. I'm gonna go into the front orthographic view. Oh, I should turn screencast key on. So I'm in the front orthographic view. I got there by pressing 1 on the number pad. And then I'm going to Shift S, take this and put this selection to the cursor, and then press G, drag it along the X-axis, and just make it so it's nice and flush with the width of the door. I'm going to rename this bone in something recognizable like door_bone. And then instead of extruding bones, what I'm going to do is select the bone, hold Shift, press D, and duplicate the bone. It's kind of important to get things as exact as possible. So what I'm going to do is go back into object mode, select this door handle. I'm going to turn invisibility on so I can see what I'm doing. Then I'm going to go into edit mode and select all these faces here. Then I'm going to hit Shift S, cursor to selected. That way this cursor is perfectly in the center of all those faces I selected. Then I'm going to go back into object mode, select the armature, go back into edit mode, turn invisibility off because we don't need that anymore. Then I'm going to hit Shift S, selection to cursor. And that way it's perfectly centered with that. Now I'm going to do the side view orthographic, press G, Y, and move this out here. Go to the front view, and this I'm less worried about, but I will move this part of the bone over here-ish. And this is a personal preference thing, but when I'm working with armatures, I like to go to the viewport display on the object data properties and then click in front. Now we're going to select this main bone, duplicate it again. We're going to go into the dampener. Oh, it's already all selected, so Shift S, cursor to selected. I'm going to go back into edit mode, Shift S, selection to cursor. Rotate on the Z axis 90 degrees. I'm going to turn invisibility back on so I can see what I'm doing. Y to drag this on Y and this on Y. Now that bone is perfectly wrong. I don't know how it wound up over there, but let's selection to cursor and then just slide that in. Okay, that's all important because you want the bones to be as close to center as possible for something like this. Now we have the bones where we want them. We need to make sure they're parented. So this bone needs to be controlled by the door. So Control P, keep offset. Same with this bone. Just Shift select the door bone, keep offset. Now we'll go into pose mode to test it. That's working correctly, even if it looks funny. So now we can parent the objects to the bones. So I'll select the door, then I'll shift select the bone, Control Tab to go into pose mode, and then, I will select the bone I want the door parented to, hit Control P, and then bone. Do the same for everything else. So go back to object mode, select the handle, go back to pose mode, Control P, bone, go back into object mode, select damper, select the armature, go back into pose mode, select the bone, and then Control P, bone. And it's done. So now this door will rotate and everything will rotate with it, and the unique parts will also rotate. But there is a bit of a problem. What we want is to limit how the rotation works. So for the door, we want only to rotate on the z-axis. For the handle here, we only want to rotate on, I want to say X. Yeah, we want only to rotate on the X-axis, and for this, we want only to rotate on the Y-axis. So to accomplish that, first let's clear this transform. It's actually very simple. I'm going to turn this viewport gizmo for rotation on, and if you didn't notice earlier, I switched the transform orientation from global to local because we want to see what the local axes are for each bone because they're different. Then I'll press N, I'll go into the item tab, I'm going to select the door bone, and I can see this blue circle indicating like where I want this to rotate. Right. If I rotate that, look at these rotation values. The only values that are changing are W and Z. So what we want is to lock everything that's not changing. So X and Y will stay at 0, and it's impossible to move them now. And if you press R, it doesn't really matter like what you press after that. You can only rotate it around the hinge of the door. And we'll do the same for this. So in this case, it's the X value that we want. So I'm going to mute those, and for this case it's the Y value, so everything except Y and W. W is important. I'm not really going to explain it, it's a little complicated, but keep W unlocked no matter what, at least for this. And now the unique parts of the safe are rotating as we want them to. The only problem with this is the way I parented means that this object, this file probably won't work very well in game engines. But if you want it to work in game engines, it's not that complicated. It's only slightly different. I'm just going to select all 3 of these objects and hit Alt-P, clear parent. They are now not attached to the armature anymore. In fact, I should also double check. Yeah, let's delete this armature modifier on each of them. It's not really that important because they're not actually linked to anything, but may as well just to keep it tidy. Now what I'm going to do is select every part of the door mechanism and the armature at last. And I'm going to do Control P, and then in the parent menu, instead of selecting bone, I'm going to go under Armature Deform with empty groups. It just makes it easier to do this part, in my opinion. So now I'm going to go into the door, go into the Vertex Group tab down here, under Object Data Properties, Vertex Groups. And apparently when I named the bones, it didn't work right, so let me just... handle bone. Damn. I don't know why it only named this. Maybe I just forgot to. Anyway, the vertex groups have changed their names because I changed the names of these bones. So now all I need to do is take this door, go into edit mode, select all of the vertices, then click door bone, and then assign. And then you do the same thing for every other part. You can probably follow along from here pretty easily. And then damper bone. And now we have basically the same thing. It's just now this will work pretty seamlessly in just about any game engine. And that's about it.